Welcome to this week's video, and this week I've picked myself up another faulty Nintendo Switch from eBay. So this one, as you can see, condition wise it's really good. It's one of the better ones I've ever bought. Screen looks immaculate, back of it's not too bad. Missing a few screws off the bottom, which is never good, and a screw off the top. Hopefully it's just damaged. Overall condition's good. It cost me £32 including delivery, which is not a bad price. And as you can see in the description, it says it gets to the second boot screen but then doesn't get any further. So we plug our charger in and it doesn't feel very smooth getting in, it doesn't go in at all. So I think I can see some bent pins. So we have a little look under the microscope and yeah, I can definitely see bent pins at the back. So straight away, problem number one is we've got a damaged port. So that's going to have to be our first thing we have to do. Swap over the USB-C port and then hopefully there isn't many more issues to go with it. So we're going to need to open up, so we get our iFixit kit out. We take the tri-wing screws out, then we'll take all the crosshead screws out, then we'll peel the back off, and it looks like there's been a bit of cleaning already done, which isn't great. So someone has had this open already. We'll take out all the screws off the heat shield, and then notice there's not actually a screw in the SD card connector, so it's definitely been opened. We'll peel the back off, and then straight away I can see some burn marks, so someone's been in here and has already done some work, so that's never great. Disconnect the battery straight away. So I'm going to have to get the motherboard out, so we disconnect everything, we'll pop it out, and then we'll have a little look under the microscope to start our repairs. So weirdly it looks like this heat shield has also already been taken off, so it pops off pretty easy. There is flux underneath, but it doesn't look like anything's been done to the chips or the board itself, so hopefully it's okay. We're just going to check for shorts around the M92, as it looks like you've already done a bit of work on this. And nothing's double shorting on either side of the caps, so hopefully that means the M92 chip hasn't blown. Fuse is okay too, we get a beep either side. So first thing we're going to do is take off the USB-C port. So we apply plenty of flux all the way around, and then we'll just get our hot air station on 440C, and then just keep moving it around, keep it in the same direction along the port, and then we just need to give it a couple of minutes for all the solders to melt, and then it should gently lift off. As I always say, never pull it, it will always lift off once the solder's nicely melted. And there we go, nice and easy. And there's the first plus point, we don't have any pull traces. Just having a quick look at the M92 while under the microscope. So it looks okay, it obviously has been changed, but they've done a good job, it's lined up. So back to the port now to cool down. We'll apply some solder wick and our soldering iron to clean the port as best we can. If anything is quite stubborn, then what we're going to need to do is apply a little bit of hot air. So the hot air, the soldering iron and the flux helps it all flow and clears the port as best as we can. This hole in the corner was a little bit tricky. So I've got my tweezers in there, and as you can see it's starting to clear out a little bit. So as we're on it, we're going to clear all the old in legs as well. Then we're going to give it a quick clean with isopropyl, and then we'll just prep a new port to go on. So I get a scalpel under the back legs and bend them up very slightly, just so it's easier to make sure that they touch properly. So gentle bend up. Then we'll apply plenty of flux, and then we'll get our soldering iron and then run it along and pre-tin all of the legs, front and back. Now this is the better way I found to start fitting new ports, heat from below. So just leave it on for a couple of minutes until you can see the solders melted. Then we'll pop the port into place and then push it down. So when I initially put it on, I can see that the port legs aren't all lined up. So I just need to rearrange it with my tweezers, so just grab it a little bit. And I just need to nudge it to the left or the right, just so it gets a bit more lined up. And now you can see it's all lined up. Want to try and keep the heat moving, otherwise you're going to start melting the plastic underneath. And then once you're happy, push down, hold down, and then we can remove the heat. Keep holding for a couple of seconds to a minute to make sure it's all solid. And once it's cool, we look under the microscope, and as you can see, they're all perfect, better than factory. Quick tap with the tweezers and there's no movement, so we know if the back ones are good, and we know the hidden ones are just as good. Then we'll apply a little bit of flux to the rear, fresh solder into the legs, so this is going to make it nice and solid, so there's not going to be any potential damage or movement when we're reinserting the charger over and over. And then a quick clean with isopropyl once more, front and back. So we get our battery, we plug it in, and then as you can see we get a charge. The amperage is quite low, and then it goes off. So normally it goes off and then comes back on like it's booting, but that's definitely not the case here. So we still seem to have an issue. I'll just flip it round to make sure there's nothing wrong with the port. So we'll unplug it, plug it back in, try it again, turns on, and then it turns off. So we definitely have an issue. So I decided to get the thermal cam out, so we plug it back in, and then we'll get the charger back on it. So it turns on and off. So I'm going to get a thermal camera, and then we can have a little look. And at the top we're getting a lot of heat spot around the M92, which isn't right. So we'll see what it says on the back. And as you can see on the back, we've got a major hotspot there. So that little white dot is where it's super hot. So we just get a plastic pick and point at the area so we can see what's getting hot. And then we get under the microscope, and it's this little black cap here next to the Realtek. So as you can see, it's plugged in now. I'm applying some isopropyl and it's evaporating straight away. I'm going to apply a little bit of flux. We're going to do a bit of a swap over, so we'll just get a little bit of flux on it, or hot air, and then we'll just remove this old little cap, which I'll be honest, I'm not totally sure what it's for or what it's called. And then we will get a new cap off a donor board, which I'm hoping is going to be working. I've never seen this cap get hot before, so you'd like to think there'd be no problems with it. And then we just plug it back in, and then as you can see, it's still getting hot, so the issue's still there. So we're on this Facebook group, Game Console Repair Legion, and someone was really helpful in giving me this diagnostics picture and said it could be linked to the Realtek chip next to it. So I decided it was worth giving it a go. So as you can see, we'll apply some hot air once again, and then we'll take it off. And then as I did before, I'll get one off a donor board, which again I'm hoping is going to be a fully working chip. Make sure it's all central. And now we plug it in, and then we get voltage and a very low amperage, but that could just be because the battery is very, very low, but it's not turning off, so that's the positive. We'll get our thermal cam back out. There's no heat spots as there was before, so it looks like that issue has been fixed. So we're going to get it back into the housing and give it a good test. So it's into the housing now. We'll plug the battery back in. We'll plug our charger and amp meter in. So we're getting 15 volts, a low amperage. We're getting the battery symbol in the corner. So hopefully it's now working. So I left it on for a couple of minutes and I turned it on, and I had 1% battery. So I left it for around about 30-40 minutes, and then when I came back to it, the battery charge hadn't actually gone up. It was still only on 1%, which made me realise that I've done a previous video on this before, and I've got another switch that's fake charging. So we have to go and have a look at the BQ chip. This was fixed last time. So a lot of the caps looked a bit discoloured, so I decided I wasn't just going to swap the BQ chip, I was going to swap all the chips as well. So heat from below, and then I'm going to start taking off all the little caps, the BQ chip as well, and we're going to go for a fresh install on everything around it. So all these discoloured caps are being removed, and then we're going to get some fresh solder and then just retin all of the pads in preparation for new caps to go on. So again, I'm heating from below. I'm taking caps from a donor board and placing them onto this one. I'll pop these two on there. I probably should have started from the furthest away. I was making it a little bit more difficult because I was stretching across. And then this is where I made a real error. So this one goes on fine. Then for some reason I decided to place the BQ chip on first, even though I still had another cap to place. So it was a bad mistake there, but you learn from your mistakes. So position in, I hold it down, and then it pushes out all the excess solder. The only problem was it went to one side, which was easy to remove, but the other side's a lot harder because of the little cap there. So I tried to remove the excess solder with my soldering iron, but it's too tough, so I'm going to have to go to plan B. So I'll start heating from below just to get this last cap in, which I should have done before fitting the BQ chip. So as you can see, it's now fitted in, but we're going to remove the BQ chip, and then we're ready to get our soldering iron to remove the excess solder that's in here. So two of the pads look like they're attached, but when checking schematics, they are actually attached underneath the layers, so it doesn't matter that it looks like they're attached on the top as well. So we reposition the chip again, we push back down, now we removed all the excess solder, nothing should be squirting out, and then we'll give it a quick clean with isopropyl, give it a good scrub. We'll just apply a little bit more flux around the edges just to sharpen up some of the connections, make sure they all look okay. A little bit of excess solder moved away, and then clean once more, and then that's starting to look pretty good. And we'll pop it back into the housing, we'll plug it into the battery, plug the ammeter in, and there you can see we're getting 0.4, so that looks much more like proper charge. So we put it in completely, we attach the battery, we put in our charger, and then as you can see it's turning on and off. We've got a completely flattened battery, but we are managing to get a switch turned on, so I apologise for the brightness that you can't see the screen very well. So when I turned it on, we were on 2%. I had a little bit of a mess with it, and it went up to 3% straight away. So as you can see, it's charging. I thought it was done, but it wasn't the end. I plugged it into a dock off screen, and it didn't display, obviously. So another problem. So we have a look under the microscope at the P13 chip, and as you can see, it doesn't actually look like it's been fitted properly. There seems to be a few little gaps. So I'm hoping the chip might work. Whoever's tried to replace it hasn't done a proper job. So we just apply a little bit of heat, and then we will remove the P13 chip that's already on there. We'll apply some fresh solder on all the grounding legs, and then we'll replace the P13 chip, position it as best we can, let it cool, and then we'll apply a little bit more flux. We will push down with a pair of tweezers to enable all of the excess solder to squirt out. We'll let it cool, get our soldering iron again to remove the excess. It should just wick away nice and easy. And then we'll heat one more time just to position perfect. Once it's cool, we'll get some isopropyl on it. And now we're back to the dock. We pop it in, have a look at the screen. And then there we go. We've got a displaying switch on the dock. Finally, we're there. And this is it, nice and complete. So it's a pretty decent condition Nintendo Switch overall. Screen's in really good condition. The back of it's not too bad. It's all fully working. As it shows here, it's connecting to the internet. Everything works as it should do. Docks, etc. The Joy-Cons connect, no disconnecting. I've put a game cart in there, so everything's perfect. It was a bigger job than I was expecting, but thankfully we're there, and we now got a fully working Nintendo Switch. Thanks very much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe.